Hello. So firstly, I'd like to give a seizure warning for this video because the game in the background does have flashing lights that may trigger a seizure in the event that you have epilepsy, so just be careful. Anyway, hello, my name is Maddie Marie, and this is Space Channel 9. Welcome. This is the final chapter of my horror series, and as my mind is fried and the bags under my eyes have deepened to a hideous purple, I am ready for this podcast today. The excess amount of coffee flowing through my veins has not dampened my ability to be scared by my favorite form of horror, which today we are talking about space horror. Yes. I mean, I would relatively say it's just horror surrounding space itself. The unknown, space. I also don't like deep sea horror, but we'll talk about that. To be honest, I had never really thought that much about space horror for a large portion of my life. I didn't watch Alien or anything like that when I was a kid, so not that like a child should watch these things, but in the general sense. I kind of focused primarily for horror that I was interested in as a kid. It was a lot of supernatural, paranormal, and serial killer stories, which probably not the best. But my mom is really into true crime, so there's that. The first time I really found myself interested in space horror was when I had actually watched my dad. He played Alien Isolation, which is, I feel like it wasn't that long ago, but honestly, it probably was. And just something about it really, really intrigued me, and I was just so fascinated by it. And actually, it was scary to me because the idea of being trapped with something that you don't know if you can fight or win against, it was really intriguing of a concept and has inspired me as a creator and an art student for a lot of my projects and a lot of my writing and everything like that. So I can really give the Alien franchise a lot of props, but also my dad and my brother, who both are into that kind of stuff.
Now dig on this.
Instead of playing Alien Isolation, as I have had multiple experiences with, I decided to play Dead Space 1 because I had never actually played Dead Space before, and I knew that it was like isolation space horror, but I mean, as the name would suggest, I just didn't know if it was for me. And there were points in my life I didn't really play these types of games, so I hadn't really had any experience with it. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. I never watched a playthrough of it because I think it just came out at a time where I don't know if people were doing playthroughs. I mean, I'm sure they were, but I just didn't have any experience with watching those kinds of playthroughs at this point. So I had never really seen anything from it. I think the extent of my experience with the Dead Space was in Dragon Age 2, if you owned Dead Space 2 or Dead Space 1, I think, on your account, you got a set of armor that was Dead Space themed. It was Isaac's armor. It looked really cool in Dragon Age. It looks cooler in Dead Space because it makes more sense, but that was kind of the only knowledge I had of what the character looked like or what anything about it was, because I never really asked my family, I never really asked my dad, so I didn't know. By playing it though, oh, I really, really liked it. I thought it was very, very good. The only thing I do have to say is that the game did push my motion sickness, because I do have motion sickness, to a pretty bad point. I had to take a few breaks, so I don't know if you watch what's in the background. Sometimes I'll pause the game for a little bit longer, and I suddenly I had to take a little bit of breaks, tiny breaks in the middle, because I get kind of ill. The game was originally made for controller and console gameplay, which is completely evident in the way that it's played. The mouse sensitivity settings are screwed up, and it aggravates my motion sickness because obviously if the mouse sensitivity is very high, just a tiny turn of the mouse does this huge turn for your character, and it's not my brain doesn't comprehend what's really happening. It's kind of the reason I can't play VR games for a long period of time without getting extremely ill. My body doesn't process like kind of the fake motion versus the real motion. So it doesn't help. I also have, a current condition where I get dizzy quite often, so it wasn't exactly an easy thing to play through with my current health status, so it was a little bit difficult. Beyond my health and kind of having to take a lot of breaks, and because I also have issues with my eyes, having to kind of take breaks from the flashing lights in the game and kind of the different lighting sensitivities because my eyes are a little screwed up. I really, really, really enjoyed this game, and I was actually scared. I'm not usually scared, I have to say. I don't think like Inscription was fun for me. It wasn't scary. I mean, the ambiance was great, but it wasn't scary. Little Nightmares, it was a little too Tim Burton-esque for me to be like, like screaming. Resident Evil, because Resident Evil is like a legitimate like survival game, I really felt a lot more. I mean, I felt like I was trying to survive, but I feel like Dead Space is a lot easier on the player than Resident Evil is not a very forgiving game. Like, you use too many bullets and you're out of bullets. It's not a forgiving game in any way. And I have no mouth and I'm a scream. I mean, screwed up so many times, and you have to do like certain things in order. So that was just as awesome as the game is for I have no mouth and I'm a scream. I eventually got kind of pissed off because like I screwed up and I didn't get the right ending, which upset me because I wanted to get the legitimate like perfect ending and I didn't. This game actually got me. Um, I really wish I had recorded some of my gameplay because, like, I did have girly screeches. I don't usually do girly screeches, but wow, I did because it just got me sometimes, and I didn't know where they were coming from, like the enemies, and I was scared. Um, it's not like I said, it's a lot more forgiving though, so it wasn't like when I played Resident Evil and I would die consistently and constantly because all I had left was a knife and like it's not really a useful tool for killing the zombies in a great way. But this game in particular, Dead Space 1, because I didn't play Dead Space 2, I played Dead Space 1. I think that the strength of the game lies in like the surprise element. So jump scares I think are usually really cheap, but in something like this, it's kind of the way to do it, in my opinion. Like when this is, I guess it would be like a third person shooter because you're not. I mean, I don't know if you can change perspectives. I didn't try. I kind of can't do that, or I would have gotten even more sick. I would like a third-person shooter. So in this kind of element in the surrounding, a jump scare actually works because it's like they're like zombified alien virus creatures, and something like this, you definitely want to have that level of surprise to get at your player, and I think that the game did it perfectly. I mean, they're like zombies, like alien zombie things with these long limbs that come at you with these like pincers. And it is scary, and I think it's great. I didn't realize, like, I don't know, my vision of like an alien in space was like kind of similar. Not entirely, but the whole pincer thing I really liked. Long limbs I think do really well in creating like a like a like a creepy character. I mean, if you think about like Slender Man or any of those types of things, or that like was like Siren Head, all those kind of like cult horror things. I call them like cult horror icons in a way because they're from like the creepypasta era, which I don't know if that's over or not, but I feel like it is. They all have very long limbs, and there's just something about that that's really unsettling. So like using that in the horror aspect in space actually really really worked because something like that could exist, or mutilate, not mutilate our bodies, I suppose we mutilate, transform our bodies into something like that because we don't know what's in space, so something like that could possibly happen. We have no idea. I do have to like kind of commend, I wouldn't say like the human character modeling is like super amazing, top notch. I mean, it's an older game, so I don't really know what I would expect. um but like the monster, the creature models are really really good, and they're really unsettling to look at, and their movements are really jittery, and there's just something about it that is like really scary, and I think it's better than like a normal zombie game Because even though like things like Dead Rising and stuff, they have like faster zombies, there's just something about like the very inhuman aspect of these zombies in space that actually really heightens the fear and heightens the adrenaline. I don't feel as scared in like a zombie game as I did in this one because you know, there's that aspect of isolation, there's the aspect of being trapped in a room, you know, being contained, and it works super duper well. Um, I feel like, yeah, they're very unique, and I think these types of zombie creature, alien creatures just worked really, really well. I also like the aspect of the game where you have to cut off their limbs, and it kind of made it, the combat is not difficult, but it is more difficult because you kind of have to aim for a certain part of the body. Even though, like, I, for one, am a hardcore, like, I like to use like a sniper rifle in like a zombie game or like Mass Effect. I only ever use a sniper rifle when I play Mass Effect because it is the superior way to play Mass Effect in my opinion because I like doing the whole like shot in the head thing. I think that this was like really unique and really really cool. Um yeah, really really fun too. I also really like the element of curb stomping, like curb stomping the zombie was hilarious. I don't know. I just kind of like did it for a while because I enjoyed being able to step on it. It allows you to get out the aggression. Like if one of them like snuck up on you and you almost died, you just like let out your aggression by curb stomping the zombie, and it just like really worked for me mentally. It was very cathartic. It was a cathartic experience curb stomping the alien zombie, which is probably not like the most normal thing to say, but I stand by my representation. My experience, I mean to say, of this game. Oh, and like sound design. Sound design in this game is really well done. It does announce the arrival of the enemy. So, less so, I mean, Resident Evil also did that where it kind of announced the arrival of the enemy. Like the music changed in Resident Evil. And I know I'm comparing them, but like this is like zombies in space, and that was like zombies in a mansion. So it feels like it's an applicable comparison. I think like I don't know. Mm, I think it worked better here because I don't feel like the music changed. It was more like there's like guttural noises, and I think that was really, really cool. Or like there's like some times when it's like up on a like in like the ventilation, and you can see its shadow, but you hear it like moving. That really, really works. And I think that that is like way more like scary than the like music change in Resident Evil because like the music change announces it in like a way where it's like you want to leave the room. The sound of like, excuse me, the sound of like the guttural noises and the like, rasping breaths, like that's like, oh shit, I know it's there, I just don't know where, and you kind of look around. And I think that just really, really worked with me. It made you kind of listen more carefully too, because like if you're wearing headphones, you could kind of hear like the direction it's coming from, the right and left earphone. So it's very much like you're in the moment, like where is it? Is it behind me? It was really cool. Scenery and lighting work too. I personally am partial to a space scene. I I read a lot of fantasy, but I read a lot of science fiction too, and I enjoy like spaceship stuff. I enjoy science fiction environments, and I feel like this one worked really, really well. Honestly, the environment's very similar to like Alien Isolation, if you've ever played that, but like this one, the game's a little older, so you have a little bit more kind of like it's very pretty for like an older game, I have to say, and it just really, really works. I like the environment. I also like the, like it's because everything's kind of dilapidated and it's like been screwed up. They have the lighting changes a lot, and it's super immersive because you're walking down a hallway and suddenly like everything goes dark and you're like looking around like what the hell is going on. And I think that really does work. It's super duper useful, like not useful. It's super duper like immersive, like I said. Very interesting and fun and like you're so intrigued by what's going on. I loved it. Um for like leveling, Resident Evil is far more challenging than this. This is horror. This is survival horror, but basically like third-person shooter horror. So it's not the same, in my opinion. You get a lot more ammo. You get a lot more like health. Um, you get a lot more like ways to survive over like other like survival horror games. Like I feel like in Resident Evil you have to like find a lot of stuff and oh it's like borderline impossible to find some of the materials, so it gets a little bit frustrating for like a player who's not like doesn't play a lot of survival horror because I honestly don't play a lot of survival horror. I like survival horror, but it's not like my main go-to for like a video game. I'm a big RPG person. Like I love playing RPGs. And JRPGs, I mean, it's a Japanese role-playing game because I play a lot of Persona, so it's kind of like that's more my bread and butter. And fighting games, I play a lot of fighting games, like those are my favorite type of games. So my bread and butter is not precisely this. So for me, Resident Evil is far more challenging, and this game was a lot more like scary, but like an enjoyable amount of scary where I didn't feel like I was gonna screw it up really bad. I didn't feel like I was gonna die all the time. Like I felt like confident and it was a fun time and I didn't like Resident Evil made me nervous. Like not even because the zombies, just because I knew I didn't have enough health or I didn't have enough bullets and I couldn't make anything. It made me nervous when I like screwed up or like used too many shots because I think I played with the controller and I'm not a very good shot in controller land, so yeah. It was a really, really good experience. But, I mean, I didn't know if I really answered the question, like, what makes this scary, though? And to answer this question, I'm going to move on to the film that I watched because I didn't get a chance to kind of finish, like, the book that I'm currently reading for space horror. But of course, check it out. It's Hole 03 by Greg Bear. He's a great author. Just check it out. Secondarily, I watched the original Alien. Yes, the original Alien starring Sigourney Weaver. Great, 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 great movie. One of my favorites. One of my all-time greatest inspirations for so much of the crap that I do because it's just so like it's so cool. I mean, that and Blade Runner, just two of my top films for inspiration. Aliens, it's the best space horror movie ever made, and it has a female hero. So as a girl in a primarily male industry for like science fiction and stuff, it's really cool to have a female hero that's not like she's not like Ripley is not the perfect girl hero. She is not the chosen one or anything like that, and it's really nice to have a hero that works to survive and survives because she's smart, not because she's just magically capable of doing everything, because I'm very tired of that trope in everything all the time. And as a writer and a creator, it's kind of annoying to be a woman because you're kind of expected to write that trope. And I feel like things like Alien really allow women to earn surviving, earn being a hero as opposed to just being given it on a silver platter because I don't know, that's supposed to be feminist or something. Um, yeah, Ripley's just awesome in my opinion. Like favorite hero icon, awesome all the time. Later movies not so much, but Alien 1, Aliens, great films. The whole element of fear in that entire movie comes from the unknown. the reality that like we as a species have not traversed space clearly, or the vast expanse of space. I mean, we haven't even gone to the end of our own like solar system, so the reality is like who knows what's out there, right? We wouldn't know what to do if something like the alien existed, and if we encountered it, like how would we fight it? How would we be able to survive? What do you even do? We don't know. And I think that's the main crux of space horror. What the hell is that thing, and what the hell do I do with it? You know, it's so interesting because it actually asks us to question what we would do in that situation. I mean, a zombie apocalypse. I'm gonna shoot the zombie in the head. I'm gonna do all these things. I'm gonna raid a grocery store. You know how you would react because, like, you know what you would do. I mean, you don't know if you'd live, but you know what you would try to do. You know, like, and supernatural stuff, like ghosts and everything. I mean, like, I don't know. There's nothing new to be learned from that. I mean, if the Conjuring films and their subsequent like spin-offs have taught us anything, is that there's nothing new to be done in the realm of supernatural horror. I mean, come on. There's no wonder. There's no interest. There's nothing that makes me like go like, "Oh, I'm scared." You know, there's nothing to be found there. But space horror, there is everything to be found. I what makes space horror just so perfect, right? Is that I feel like you can put any character that you write in a situation like this, and you can make it interesting. You can make them the biggest bumbling idiot, and they somehow get through it. You can make them this badass, hard ass, like military person, and they die immediately. It just works. It's a plot device that you can do so much with because it's not new, but it's just so expansive. It's so big. It's so like the concept is insane. We don't know what could be out there. I mean, if the tardigrade can survive in space, also known as a water bear, and those things look fucking weird, I mean, what the hell can survive in space that we haven't seen? And that's a great question. I mean, what kind of creature would come about if like a planet's atmosphere was different? Yes, we know that there's a perfect space, there's a perfect number, a perfect formula to create life on a planet. But what would that life look like on another planet that has certain different elements or is primarily composed of a different type of gas that like a living creature has the ability to, inhale? I mean, we don't know. And I think that's the interest in space horror because space is so insanely like we cannot understand the vastness of space. We cannot understand how far it goes, what's out there. And I mean, I'm not one of those like UFO believers. I don't think people get abducted or whatever because I honestly think if some alien had the ability to travel to our galaxy, why would he want to abduct any of us? Great question. I just I just personally don't like to discount the idea that there's something out there because it's completely ridiculous to believe we're the only life in the universe, right? I know I'm getting like pretty deep, but this is why I think space horror is scary. It's insane to think that we're the only life in the universe, right? The only intelligent life in the universe is us. Like that is insanity. There's no way you can believe that, you know? There's no way you can believe that and be like a sane human being. I just don't think so. So for me, the main crux of the fear comes from the fact that like we don't know what's out there. And whatever is out there could be like the alien or could be like Dead Space, you know? There could be a alien virus thing parasite that turns us into these fucking zombies. I mean, there's no accounting for what's out there and there's no accounting for what it could be. And nothing is scarier than the unknown. Nothing is scarier than not knowing what the hell you're gonna do. I mean, the way I feel about space horror is that it's just a perfect mix of everything. I think you don't like characters are not equipped. Like in any character that you write for a space horror thing, right? Not every character is going to be equipped to understand what's going on or equipped to fight or survive an alien. Like Even if they have a weapon, how do they know that that weapon is actually going to be effective? And the reality is that they don't. And I think that's what makes it so perfect, right? Because like you know what weapon is effective on a zombie. Um, you know you got to throw a Bible at a demon or whatever. You know all that kind of stuff. And it's the kind of reason why like Coraline is so scary for kids because that is an unknown, right? Like being alone. I mean, unless it's not. Not every kid has a family, and it's not always it's not applicable to everybody. But in a way, when you are a kid that has a family, that's an unknown for you, being alone, having no one to turn to. And I think how that works for a child, it almost works in space horror for an adult who understands that they can't comprehend the vastness of space and thusly what could be inside of it. Like, I don't know. It just hits different than like Jason Voorhees or like Freddy Krueger. Because while Freddy is in like this dream realm, I just don't think that it's the same. I mean, yeah, you'd be scared to fall asleep. I get that. But honestly, I mean, like, you're scared to fall asleep, you might die. You're in space, and there's literally nowhere you can run. What the hell is scarier than that? The idea that, like, there's nothing you can do. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. Whatever it is that is up there with you has you. Unless there's, like, an escape pod. Now, yes, we know that one of the issues with the Alien film is the whole escape plot pod thing. Like, I mean, I would have GTFO'd way quicker than that. But the reality is that I mean, they had a job to do, so I mean, I guess they thought they could take care of it. I just I think that like if you don't have that, or even if you do have that, and let's say it's sabotage, I mean, what the hell are you gonna do? How are you gonna get out? And I think because we can't survive in space, like in Freddy Krueger, like the Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors one, you know, they're like, it's my dream, I can fight you. Like you can bullshit your way through that. You can't bullshit your way through breathing in space because you can't fucking breathe in space. Excuse my language. You cannot breathe in space. You can't. There's no oxygen. It's a vacuum. There's no sound. No one can hear you scream. Hello, I have no mouth and I must scream. Space horror is everything. It is the greatest kind of horror. You can't do shit once you're outside of that spaceship. If you're not in any type of safety thing, you have no oxygen, you're screwed. You're dead. And the aliens got you, or space has got you. That's why it's so scary. It's so well done. And for me, it also connects to the idea of like the ocean. I personally have a super duper huge fear of the sea. Not like a beach. I can go to a beach. I can't like go a certain ways out from the beach. Um, because I'm scared of like the ocean and well, not the ocean. I am scared of like the depths of the ocean, right? I am a large Lovecraft lover. That sounds weird. I like H.P. Lovecraft's work. Other than his, problematic history as an individual, I think H.P. Lovecraft created so much of what we find scary today. And I see things and I feel the way that a few things like fear-wise, I see some things in the way that he did. I am scared of like things I don't know, like the depths of the ocean, right? Like I honestly used to have a fear, really stupid. Like when we'd go on vacation to a beach, which we rarely did, but if we ever did, I always thought Cthulhu was going to rise from the ocean if I went too far out, and he was gonna like eat me. I don't know why. It's just a fear I had because I we played like Arkham Horror and all of that stuff, so I was very familiar with Lovecraftian horror. And then I, bought I have a Lovecraft like anthology, like big book with all of his stories in it. So I was terrified of Cthulhu coming in out of the ocean and trying to eat me. Should have probably been scared of Dagon too, but like I just didn't think about it. Honestly though, watch Dagon. Great film. Um, but the movie that kind of actually got me that's a little bit more recent, I don't really know how recent it is, but like that movie Underwater, I think is the name of it, with Kristen Stewart, that scared the hell out of me. Because I don't want to drown. Like I have a fear of drowning. I'm scared to drown. I used to not be able to swim. This is a lot of personal shit. I used to not be able to swim. I couldn't swim. I had to take swimming lessons when I was older for like high school swimming class because I literally couldn't like swim for a long time. And like I was scared of drowning and I'd always like hold on to people, but I'm quite short so everyone could stand where I couldn't. So I was like a koala bear on top of people's bodies. Um I just think, we're not equipped as human beings to survive the deep ocean, as we are not equipped as human beings to survive in the vacuum of space. There's no fucking oxygen. You can't breathe underwater. You drown. So like the idea that if you're in this like big facility underwater and someone cuts like something happens and your oxygen starts going in or it starts like sinking or not sinking but water starts coming in, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. And that terrifies me. So I can't go in a submarine because I think I'm gonna die. Not that I'd have the ability to go in a submarine because I don't know in what context I would be in a submarine, but if I were to be in one, I would be scared as hell. I don't have a fear of small spaces, I just have a fear of being underwater. Like, it fills you with so much fear because, like, you can't survive. That's the reality, right? Like, you could survive a zombie outbreak. Probably. Depending. You could survive a lot of shit. You can't survive things that your body is not equipped to survive. And that's kind of what scares me the most about kind of being trapped in those situations and having something come at you because clearly that thing is equipped to survive and you are the one that is not able to live in these same conditions. I mean, like the alien survives in the vacuum of space. So there's something to that. You know what I mean? It doesn't need oxygen. It doesn't. So there's something to that in a way that is scary because you haven't killed it and you're screwed. Mm. Now, when I talk about Alien and the Alien franchise, I'm not referring to Prometheus or Covenant because those movies are horrible. Unless you like them, then live your fantasy. I don't care. But I just feel like those kind of ruin the, what I would call, weirdly enough, the sense of wonder that Alien fills you with. It's wonder and dread. And that's what Dead Space filled me with too. Wonder and dread. Because you marvel at the fact that there could be some shit like that out there, right? But you also are terrified because if there is something like that out there, what the hell are we gonna do if we ever find it or ever encounter it, you know? And Prometheus and Covenant kind of ruined the wonder, the dread, the unknown aspect. We don't need an origin story for the alien because it's perfect the way it is, right? I think in certain types of stories an origin story is necessary. In others it isn't. And the beauty about Alien is that we don't need to know what the hell it is or where the hell it came from. We just need to know that Ripley is trying to survive this damn thing that is skitter-skeetering around the ship and she needs to find a way out. And I think that's perfect. Obviously in Dead Space, you need context. It's not really a full fleshed out game that takes you hours and hours to play if you don't have context, right? Like it's not like I wouldn't want to play a game that had no explanations or end goals or anything like that cuz I mean what's the fun of that? I mean Alien Isolation there's an end goal, so it's not just saying like do this thing. it's explaining what happened and why this happened or how it happened. And I think for Dead Space, because it's more of like a virus type thing, you need a little bit of context because it adds a lot to what's happening, and it heightens the stakes of the story. It doesn't necessarily work for Alien in my opinion, but overall I feel like the feeling is the same. It is scary. I think this is a superior type of horror. And I think it works in every element. Now, I think I said the same for children's horror, but because that works in every element for a kid, right? Like your kid's reading Coraline, they're going to get freaked out because the descriptions are well done. The pictures in the book, if you have an illustrated version, are terrifying for a child. They're creepy and strangely drawn, and I think that adds a lot to it. But for an adult, for a human adult who, isn't afraid of supernatural shit, isn't afraid of that kind of stuff, like what is scarier than the unknown that isn't like oh, do ghosts exist, but like we have not traveled outside of this solar system. What the hell is out there? That is terrifying. I am a lover of astronomy. I've taken astronomy classes. I am so fascinated by space and everything like that. It's just there's just so much like I find it so interesting and terrifying, and it really puts you into perspective how small we are as a species, as a planet, which makes, global warming sad because we're such a small species, such a small planet. What we've done is shitty, but we're so insignificant. And I know it sounds weird, but I love that. It's terrifying. It fills people with existential dread. It is awesome, in my opinion, because there is nothing better than realizing that nothing matters. That's an aside, but I just think that also has to do with space horror. I mean, because like space fills people with existential dread. The vastness of space, the reality of how small we are, that is existential dread, and that is heightened in space horror because it fills you with dread and fear about what else is out there. Not all intelligent life is friendly. Not all intelligent life would be kind. Not all intelligent life would even let us live. You don't know. I mean, like, in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they destroy Earth because they needed to make a highway. So, that's how insignificant we could be, honestly. And I think that's really, really powerful and terrifying, and that it just adds so much to to horror. I don't think anything else does that, you know? I just don't think anything does that because like I mean, I guess if you're afraid of religion and heaven and hell and that's very scary, like Dante's Inferno got you or something, it could be good and scary. But I mean, that's a belief system. The depths of the sea, the vastness of space, that's reality. And this is why I say, in part, things that are real scare me. And I don't know that there isn't an alien extraterrestrial creature that wouldn't eat me. So I should be scared, right? I mean, I'm not scared on a daily basis, but when I do see, I read a book or I watch a movie, it is kind of scary because like it's 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 kind of freaky. It's it's something that could be. And I'm not saying that an exact replica of the alien is a real thing, but like like something like that could be out there. And I think like Prometheus and Covenant ruined that, but Dead Space, that was really it was just so good. I loved it. It was scary and awful, but awesome. It's kind of one of those games where you get like a real bad scare and you gotta stop playing, because you need to take a breath. And I think like if a game can do that to you like it did to me, it's a success. And I think overall space horror in general is a successful thing. I love it. So, I mean, in conclusion, check out space horror. Watch Alien. Watch Aliens. I don't know if you want to go further than that. Um, because they get a little iffy. But, you know, you get into the series, I would exclude Prometheus and Covenant from your watching history, but that's just because I don't recommend it myself. Computer freaked out. Yeah, I would also play Dead Space. Dead Space is awesome. I want to play Dead Space 2 because I feel like maybe the balance will be better, especially with like, my motion sickness. Maybe the second game is balanced a little better for computer because not all like porting something to a new platform doesn't always work well, and that's a fair assessment, you know. So maybe this time the port for like Dead Space 2 will be superior. I'm hoping because I don't like having to take like 10-minute breaks in between like playing for a half an hour because I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I just don't think that's not a really enjoyable playing experience for me, despite the fact that I was really interested in the game. So yeah, I'm hoping I can play Dead Space 2. I want to play Alien Isolation like again on my own. Um, just like re-experience it because it was one of those games that I think just is a big inspiration for me. Um, yeah. This is the like last, like I said, this is the last of the horror podcasts. Um, and I mean, I've had a wild ride. I'm tired. I'm overworked. I've been sitting like Gollum on my chair for the past few hours because I can't sit like a normal human being because I am a hobbit, let's be honest with ourselves. And I think I'm ready to close the chapter on the world of horror for like a day or two, and then I'll open it back up and continue working more on it because I think horror is just awesome, and I love every type of horror ever to be created, except for like really, really gory shit. I'm not a big Saw person, let's be honest, but if there's anything I'm really gonna stay focused on, it is space horror. Space horror is everything to me. It is the most amazing form of horror. It is the best, most interesting, scariest. It's everything. So please, 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 please try it out yourself. Watch the movie, play the games, read a book. Just experience some shit because it's really cool and it's a wild ride. So, that was it. Thank you for listening. And I hope you had a great time because honestly, I did too. I had a funsy time. Bye bye. Woohoo.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!